All right, we are live. Good evening. My name is Attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secret: How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Mr. Darren Guy from Maine. Darren, how are you?
I'm well, Mr. Davis. Thank you.
How's the weather in Maine today?
It's calm, but it's still a little stormy.
Oh, okay. And we have our other co-host, Miss Deidre Payne. Miss Payne, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Your video camera is working really well.
I know I will have it turned on in just a second. We had some weird weather today. I don't know if it hit you, but it was like
Oh, here we
humid
go.
and
Don't blame
raining.
yourself on my excuses. Don't you get your own excuse.
But you see
That's
how
all
she
I have.
kind of transitioned into. Let me get him off the topic.
All right.
Yeah,
It's only a
yeah.
video show.
You're
Deidre.
right down the street. Hey, I look presidential,
I'll
don't I?
have. I'm
Okay,
turning my camera on in 2 minutes. I'll be right on.
okay. We have Miss Brittany Wright. Miss Wright is our guest this evening. We also have a guest in the second half, Mr. Matthew McDaniel. But we're going to start with Brittany tonight. Brittany, where are you calling in from?
Idaho.
Idaho. Do you fish?
I do.
A little rainbow action, fly fishing there?
You know what? I actually have not been taught how to fly fish. My grandfather is a very, very good fly fisher, and he for years and years and years made his own poles, his own flies, everything. But he has MS, and the last bit have been a little harder on him, and I have only wanted him to teach me, and so I'm really hoping that I'm able to have him teach me before.
You know,
I don't really
I
want to
don't.
say
I
the
don't think.
rest, but
I don't think anybody knows this. I don't think I've ever discussed this issue, but earlier in my life, I used to be a big fly fisherman.
Oh,
I used to
really,
tie, I used to tie my own flies.
hey, do you
really,
know?
Hmm.
Do you know the
My
Jerry
How do you
smelt?
do that?
Do you know the Jerry smelt?
the what?
The Jerry's smelt.
No, the Royal Coachman was my
All
favorite.
right. Well, never mind then.
How do you tie a fly?
Very carefully.
yeah, it's kind of a neat little art, definitely. And he had like his own tie, his fly tying room and everything, and um,
Oh wow.
yeah, I'm really hopeful that this next, because it's we battle with weather. So right now our weather is kind of being a little bipolar too. But so if it's too hot, we can't go. If it's too cold, we can't. So it has to be just perfect. So
Right.
for him,
What city are you in?
I'm in Nampa, just about 20 minutes from Boise.
Hmm. I happen to know a handful of people that moved to Idaho to near Boise because of a job and a business. Have you ever heard of ClickFunnels?
What is it?
ClickFunnels.
No.
Russell Brunson.
Hmm. I'll have to look into it.
Okay.
Click funnels.
Big company there in Boise or right outside of Boise.
Hmm. Look.
Anyway, so tell me what's going on with CPS in Boise,
So
Idaho.
so I'm kind of coming up on an update. I'm just coming on for an update.
Yep.
So you let's refresh you. Um I I am- I was waiting for my adjudicatory. I think last time we met up, can't remember exactly. Still waiting for my adjudicatory because my lawyer decided to be boo and not begin contact with me until 2 days prior to our hearing, and I wasn't going to stand for that because I knew this was my most important hearing. This is my all or nothing, and so we actually extended it, so it's not till the 17th. So my kiddos were taking our drug test results, the skyrocket numbers. Do you remember that?
Hmm.
Trying to, yeah. So, they finally, now that my attorney has finally been in contact with me and I've gotten his his private number, if you will, and it's really not, but that's what he wanted to say it was. He is going to put in to have those tests redone. Everybody thinks those tests are bogus, so yeah, we're just kind of waiting. It's just a real waiting game right now, and I wasn't going to allow the adjudicatory to happen with like no evidence submitted, no like I yesterday I finally met with him and I'm like, so are you going to cross-examine the caseworker and this and that and everything? And I was like, just like kind of drilling him, and he's like, yeah, yeah. And I don't think he expected me to know quite what I think thankfully to you. So I don't think he was like, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And I think he took me a little more serious though, because I actually like sounded like I knew a little bit of what I was talking about. I mean, obviously I'm a professional or anything, but like I was, I didn't just sit there and be like nothing, I had answers to some things. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Okay,
yeah, no, we're
well,
just waiting.
so when is the hearing?
The 17th.
Okay, so that's just what, like 8 days from now?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I wish you luck, and I hope everything turns out okay for you.
Me too.
Do you guys know who your witness is going to be?
He is going. I don't know if he's gonna actually pull the doctor, hit their pediatrician, but he is gonna pull records, because they were there just very shortly prior to this all happening, and with those high of levels, their vitals wouldn't have been normal, and the doctor didn't have concerns, and then he is going to cross-examine the safety assessor in possibly the officer who came to assist Lexi. He did say to me, and it's kind of annoying, when we were talking yesterday, he said, because the officer put in the police report that he was there to assist the safety assessor in taking, at which point she should have had a court order, but she didn't have a court order, and they told me that they didn't need one. So they came in, just took him and everything, but then it was like, well, it should have been that anyways, my attorney said that if like we can bring that up in court and stuff, like that seems like a huge point. But he said that would just like the judge is probably just gonna say that we're just nitpicking the case. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, but
Well, I don't know about Idaho law, but in California, if you were to bring that up, it'd probably be ruled as irrelevant, whether
okay.
your rights were violated. Unfortunately, in California, if your rights are violated during the detention of your child, your remedy is not to have evidence excluded in the CPS case, but to sue the social worker under civil rights law, even
So
if you
it's kind
don't
of like
never get, yeah, even if you never get your child back. So it seems
all right,
kind of
so
crazy.
that's like a later date argument type thing that I should focus on.
Well, I don't know the law in Idaho.
Yeah,
It might be a viable defense. I'm just telling you about California for me and Miss
well, the
Payne, where
fact that
we
he
are.
said it was nitpicking, it makes me wonder if it's comparable.
I don't know. You should definitely make sure before you decide. You guys decide your final strategy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I will.
Remind me and remind the audience. What is the social worker saying that you did that was so wrong?
The drug test results.
Oh, they were so high you'd be dead. You might want to.
Right.
You might
My
want
attorney
to.
said, he goes, your 10-month-old must have swallowed a gram of meth. I said, yep, apparently.
What I would do, I would consider talk to your lawyer about getting an expert, like a pharmacologist, to come in and say, if levels were, this high, they'd be comatose or dead or, something, to show that it's an obvious mistake. You know, too bad. Have you been watching? Did you see our seminar?
No, I didn't.
Did you see
Is it?
Did you see the old show that had attorney
I haven't been able
Oroki?
to find it. I've looked for it, but I haven't. I've been looking for it, but I haven't found it at all.
Okay, so for the audience, we had a show where we had a guest speaker, Oroki Okorocha, and he was also a presenter at our seminar last Saturday, and he talks all about drug testing, you know, in CPS cases. He would have been the perfect person for you and or your lawyer to talk to
I know.
about something like this.
Mhm.
No.
You might
Well,
want
you
to
should look it
Google.
up.
Yeah,
I just don't. Well, is he gonna talk to me like at all? Like, because I mean, unfortunately, I just don't have the money to just be like, well, here, help me. I
You don't know
wish,
until you
but
try.
I can't answer
True.
that. You know,
Yeah.
have you tried to call him? You know, because
no.
that's about a, you know, a 5 minute,
Yeah.
30-second process.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll give him a call tomorrow. Then I will, and I'll see what he. Because I know, I really think like I mean, everybody who hears, especially the babies test, like a 10-month-old testing it, like literally the cutoff. It's like, come on, this is, like you said, comatose. Like
Mm.
it's silly. It doesn't make any sense.
Here's the thing. Here's the other thing. And I'm saying this for Deidre's benefit and all the benefits of all Californians. And this might be true in your state of Maine, Darren. I just don't know. You know, in California and in most states, if you need an expert and you can't afford it, you can make a motion to the court to pay for and hire your expert.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I did not know that.
So here's the
Bet
other
you
thing.
can here
You,
too.
you you might not be able to hire O, Corey Okorocha, but maybe he can turn you on to someone in Ohio, in Boise. I would bet $1 right now that someone like him exists in your state, if not right there in Boise or
I
someplace
don't know.
closer.
I did look into like that kind of stuff, and you'd actually be surprised how much trouble I'm even having like finding an attorney that's actually even like focused on CPS cases.
Right.
It's
Well, I mean,
like
you
to
you
the
know,
point
you're
like I was like considering just hiring you. But it was
that
getting
would have been
It
so
great.
should be done.
frustrating.
Contracted.
I could
Send
have
it.
gone to. I would have loved to go to Idaho and done some fishing and represent you.
Well, it's not too late, okay?
Wednesday, the 16th, right? We got
You
the
should have
7th.
listened to his show the other night when he broke down the fees of just getting him to the state before he even
I
starts
know.
on your case.
That's the
This is-
only
We're talking
thing.
about
That's the
fishing now.
only.
That's a whole different game.
But there is, yeah, exactly. I've got some good fishing
Right.
spot.
Maybe her grandpa will actually come out and be able to teach her and you.
Oh my gosh, you guys would have so much fun.
Oh, that would be funny to videotape that day.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Are they saying that we couldn't fish, Mr. Davis?
What'd you say, dear?
Are they saying that me and you couldn't fish? Is that what they're challenging our fishing skills?
No,
No.
we're
think
saying
so.
that remember she wanted to have her grandpa teach her
Oh,
when
yeah,
she does
yeah.
learn. So then if he came out, he could go along for the ride.
Yeah, he could be your, oh, well, I mean, anything for his great grandbabies.
He could be my guide,
Your
my
fish,
fishing
your
guide.
guide, your fishing guide. That's what I was just gonna say.
He could take him to his flying fish room or whatever you said, tying the fish or whatever you said. He has his own room.
Yeah, it'd be so cool.
So, you know, to be honest with you, the more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm thinking, you know, you and your lawyer need to talk to and or get an expert witness to come testify. We're 8 days away, so you have plenty of time. I mean, if an expert came in and, you know, the court accepted him or her as an expert and said these levels are way too high, she'd be dead, you know, if these were accurate tests, you know, that goes a long way in throwing it out. And the other thing an expert could do, and you can talk to Double O or someone like him about this, is the testing, you know, what kind of test was it? Was
Right.
it a
The
was it a yeah,
admissibility of it.
right?
Screen or a
Did they
test.
screen or a test, or did they have the right equipment to do the test?
Mm-hmm.
Right? As we
Yeah.
learned this weekend, a lot of times tests are done and used against you based on economics, the cheapest way out, right? And the unfortunate part of this is that they've decided, because of an economic analysis of the law, to use cheap, unreliable tests. And if, hey, a few people get hurt and lose their kids, it's okay, because we've saved, tons of money by doing these patch tests. Deidre, did you do patch tests in Orange County? Because it used to be big there.
No, just urine.
Patch tests in Orange County used to be big, and I think somebody may
They
have
offered it to me because when I had that one discrepancy that I talked about on the seminar with Corey the other day, remember he told me that you can't have one without the other when it came to amphetamine and methamphetamine. Remember he
Hey,
said if the amphetamine was 0 and
He
the meth
said
was
that on
no.
the seminar?
yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. He had a lot of
Because
information that
that
I
was like
asked
one
him.
of the, that just makes me so excited. Can you tell? That's one of the things. So on our test, the only thing that it's popping for is methamphetamine. And I know
But is the amphetamine 0?
it NA.
Yes. Yeah, that's what happened to mine, and he said that there's no way. He said because
Okay.
meth breaks down into amphetamine or something. He said, I don't know.
Yeah,
So
your body metabolizes methamphetamine into
Yeah.
amphetamine. And so as
Uh-huh.
soon as I saw those results, I immediately knew, because I had a case already. So this is like kind of, I mean, my case had, so I drug tested for 1.5 years, so I already know how this all works. And so once I saw those results, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, because you told us that day of your story that when you were using, you knew what your numbers were, and that
Yes.
this number, when you knew you weren't using, it just didn't make sense, you said. And then your
Exactly.
kid, obviously.
And then I ended up going back to my emails and for those results, and sure enough, like even on where there is nothing, like say barbiturates or whatever it be, there's a 0 on this new result. All of them say NA except for methamphetamine.
It's almost like they purposely just picked that drug.
Yeah, because they knew that was the DOC.
Your drug of choice. Yeah.
Yep.
Brittany, I'm so sorry you didn't see the seminar on Saturday.
I know.
Oroki Okorocha
Is it
talked
recorded?
Yes, but no, you can't have access yet.
Don't have access yet.
No.
Mr. Davis is on the fence with that one. It's recorded, but he doesn't know if he wants to share it yet.
Here's the deal.
Why?
Here's the deal. Let me tell you this. We charge people to be in the seminar, right? To see it live.
Right. Yeah.
If I were to release it to you for free,
How is that fair to the other people?
how's that fair to them?
What if I pay for it?
No, that's fine. And we're trying, and I got to talk to Grace about this, because I just got notice the other day, or maybe it was today, that the video is, or the tape is ready. So we are going to sell it. And you should definitely fast forward to Oroki Okorocha, because he talked about this very thing with Deidre in the seminar.
Because I brought it up with my,
When he was on the show,
I was gonna get on too. I know it.
When he was on the show, he explained one of the reasons why meth testing is so difficult for the government. First of all, you have to have certain equipment in this one particular machine at the very end to produce the last test. Okay. The problem is that very few labs even have that machine because it's so expensive. And that's the one thing in my mind that stuck. Then he started on the seminar. He went into a little bit more detail about meth testing. And Deidre had a couple questions for him.
Mm-hmm.
If your test results, and I haven't seen them, but from what you're saying, if your test results according to Double O, you have a faulty test. Now
Yeah,
here's the thing.
100%.
You and I can't tell the judge that.
Okay.
Your attorney can't tell the judge that. You know why? Because we're not experts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In California, anyway, in order to testify about something like scientific like that, you got to be an expert. And you literally have to come in, get sworn in, and then explain to the judge, basically educate the judge why this drug test is faulty. Because
Okay.
right now, I can assure you that the judge is probably thinking, well, there's something wrong. There's something going on. Maybe the levels couldn't have been that high, but they were high enough, and she shouldn't have her kids. Well, you need an
Mm-hmm.
expert to come in and explain to the judge, and they call it educating the judge
Mm-hmm.
on why that is impossible. Okay, so one of the things you should do is you should start Googling drug experts, pharmacologists, forensic testing experts in your area and try to get one to come. And maybe your attorney can make a motion to have your expert paid for by the court.
Okay.
In California, they do it all the time in criminal cases. All right. But they also do it in juvenile dependency CPS cases because there's such an important constitutional right at issue, and that's the right for
Right.
you to be a parent, right? I mean, if this goes the wrong way, you could lose your kids forever.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Especially
So,
because it's,
so
cases.
California
Sorry.
courts have ruled that it might be constitutional that we might have to pay for the expert if you can't afford it. Now, that means you have to provide proof that you can't afford it, and you must, your attorney must show the judge why this is important. And I would bet you $1 that when the judge hears the testimony about methamphetamine testing and the test that you took, he or she is going to
Yeah.
be shocked.
Yeah.
Because I've been an attorney 34 years, something like that. Anyway, maybe 37 years, whatever it is. But until Corey
Long
came on
time.
the show earlier this year, he was
Yeah.
saying some things about drug testing that I never knew. Literally never knew. And I tell this story. I told someone else who was on the show on the seminar. You guys heard Art Lasalento. I told Art that what Corey had originally said on our show, and you know what he told me? He says that can't be true. He didn't even know it.
Hmm.
So your test is about drug testing. You need to call it and talk to a drug testing expert.
All
Right.
right.
And I
I'll
would
just give him a
start.
call and see what he says. We'll just we'll just give it a run. Give it a run
Yeah.
Say
for it.
Mr. Davis, and you might get his ear to, you know.
Yeah. You're like,
Well,
were you by chance watching last night's show?
well, Darren was nice enough to post the telephone number for Double O in the private chat, and I'm going to
Okay.
post it in the public chat. And there
Okay.
is his number. You got that number from the
That's
his
from the Just
website?
Deal lawyers. Yeah, that's
Okay.
from the Just Deal lawyers.
I was saying that you should probably post the spelling of his name in the chat, because when people go to look for the show that has him on it, that's maybe why we can't find him, because they don't know how to
When
spell his name.
when I
You know
went to
who?
go search it, I did the talk to text
Oh yeah.
so that I could
And it
search
didn't
it
even
correctly.
close. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think we can pronounce it right half of the time. That's
Yeah.
why
You
I
know
called him
what?
Double O.
I probably slaughtered it.
Grace would know the show where he first came on. Grace, I don't know if you know, and you can post it for people, and they can find the date of the show, and then you can find one of the social media outlets that we, stream to on Facebook and YouTube, and you'll be able to look at the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause I've been
And
lucky.
then if you want to buy the seminar with, Corey was one of
Buy
the
it.
presenters,
Yes.
Hey,
um, text or email me, and
Okay.
I'll get you hooked up with Grace, and I'll put my email in there.
Okay.
WD
I
Law.
was noticing on your YouTube channel, man, this guy here has a ton of information on his YouTube channel. Like,
I know. I've been falling
how,
asleep
I
to
don't
it.
understand, like, how this is. I don't
I'm
know.
telling you,
This
that's
guy
the
is a
only reason
gift.
my attorney's
This
taking
man,
me
what he does
serious
is a
now.
gift. There's just no
Mhm.
doubt, because the amount of information that he just hands out to the public is just
It's
incredible.
yeah. No, it's
You know,
it's
so
what's gonna get my babies back for sure because I there's no way. Well, for one, I thought that my attorney was gonna be good because of the one thing he said, like the very first time and then literally 3 weeks ghost. Like I emailed, I called, and ghosted me. And then 2 days before the trial, he sends me an email and he says, "I just need to know that you are still wanting to proceed with a hearing." I'm like, yes, I want to proceed with the hearing. Like, you kidding me? So I kind of got a little pregnant chick on him and like told him what I
Yeah, but
thought. But it's
one of the things you got to keep in mind. I'm going to tell you a secret. A lot of people are not going to like this. He's your lawyer, for better or for worse. We don't want to alienate him before the trial, right? He's
I think really what it was is that okay, so I did find out yesterday he's actually not really done a ton. He's like kind of subbing in for CPS cases because the attorney that they did have anyways, it doesn't matter. So he's just subbing in, so he hasn't done a ton. And I think being so busy, one, and two, looking at my case. I mean, you look at my case and you see those numbers, especially, and you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like anybody's gonna think awful things about me right now. Like rightfully so. I mean, you look at those numbers and a 10-month-old baby, and yeah,
are,
I'm probably gonna
are you
think crappy things. I would, you know.
are you
So
guys laying
I
your whole
think
case on this?
what?
Does your whole case rely on what these drug results come back? Like, did you guys do any
The only thing.
parenting, anything? Did you guys do anything else?
The only thing.
That's why I had a question when it's okay, Mr. Davis, based off of that. Is it okay to
Say
ask?
what?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead, Miss Payne.
Oh, okay. Well, because she was saying that the one and only reason why, number one, her children got removed was because there was drugs in the kid system and being so high. But then number two, she also said that when they came to remove the child, that there wasn't even a court order. So with kind of those two things in, topic, shouldn't she either one, I think you've mentioned before, like if drugs is a issue, that maybe they could return the kids on like um, a certain basis, like as if like she were to live with a family member, or if she were to be testing clean, like on I'm not thinking of the word I want to say, like on a follow these rules and your kids can still be in your home while we get to the hearing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's not, you think, an option for her?
I think it's a great option. If she were in
Would have
California,
been.
if in Idaho, if it's similar to California law, that's something she and her lawyer would have definitely argued, I'm sure.
Are your
Yeah.
children with family?
So I just moved in with my mom and dad, actually. So which is huge going to be
No,
huge
but I
for my
mean, where are
mom.
your children staying right now?
They're staying with Mexican.
Family? Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
As long as they're not foster parents.
Mm-mm. I mean, technically they're fosters, but we've been friends for 25 years, which isn't
Well, yeah, meaning
different.
they're on your side in the matter of it, right? They're not trying to steal your kids.
They were at one point,
Uh-oh.
and it's kind of gotten a little weird. So we're
Well,
just
if
gonna.
social workers get a hold of them too much longer, then they might be going that other way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to get
When
them
you
with
have
your parents, no?
2 kiddos, and that's a lot of money that you're bringing in. So
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Your parents didn't take them?
Well, now I'm staying here.
Well, I know, but in the beginning, no.
Well, it was kind of interesting. My mom was actually out of town. My mom was in Arizona, moving my sister to Arizona when it all happened. And my dad is like, he wouldn't have been able to take both the babies at the same time, you know, kind of a thing. So no, when it all happened, my mom wasn't even here. So it was pretty crazy. But
Not to scare you, it's just sometimes me and Darren like
no,
to
I
give
know.
our standpoint as far as the devil's advocate side, as far as, you know, God forbid if it were to get to the point of you losing your rights and then being like in a setting where, you know, these people want to adopt. It's like your mom probably would have been coming back from Arizona real fast, or your dad would have been like learning how to take
Right.
care of babies. You know what I mean? Because it's like, do you lose your
So
children altogether, or
if it ends up going to like a case plan, hopefully it doesn't, but if it does end up going to a case plan, then I think we're going to reassess.
So
the
where
situation.
are you at now? What's a case plan in comparison to where you are? Like obviously every state's, you know, different. So you were at,
So I
where are
don't have
you
a
at your
case plan
fight here?
because we haven't, the adjudicatory hearing hasn't happened yet. So I don't have a case plan yet.
she hasn't been like charged with her allegations yet, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So they just they just came and snatched your kids up and just said put you in the dust, pretty much, right? Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's why I thought she should have been given like an opportunity like California, where she could have
100%.
been having her kids like on a, you know, follow these rules and you can have them in your care.
Yeah, you would think. And that was kind of something that I was kind of like, actually had in my notes from one of your videos, was like looking at that, like seeing like, I mean, I wasn't really, actually not wasn't really, I wasn't like, they say reasonable efforts, 0 reasonable efforts were made, or like they came and they went. Like at 10 o'clock in the morning, I get a knock on my door and they're taking my kids because these drug test results. Like there was nothing.
Okay,
I don't know.
well, Brittany, I want you to keep us
I will, for sure.
informed.
Yes, please.
And I strongly suggest you start looking for a drug testing expert.
Okay, I'll call him tomorrow.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you again for coming on.
Mention Mr. Davis's name.
And fly fishing.
Thank you for coming on and sharing, and we'll be in contact with you in the future. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Good luck,
sounds good.
Brittany.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
My lighting better?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't look like you're in a bar now.
Oh, a bar.
So the reason
Darren,
I asked you earlier, yeah, what's that, Mr. Davis?
I need you to do me a favor off camera at it, you know, tonight or tomorrow or something.
Mm-hmm.
Send some YouTube videos to Miss Payne about lighting and sound and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I can do that. I've got plenty.
I'm still waiting for the headset.
Yeah, well, I mean, it takes time to magically make that.
I'm kidding.
You'd be surprised how, I don't want to say complicated it could be because it's very straightforward, but some of the things you got to know when you're doing a live stream all the time. You know, just for the benefit.
See, this is the first live stream I've ever done, is doing these shows.
Do you see Mr. Davis and I's foreheads by chance?
Yes. You don't see mine?
We do, but do you see what you don't have? Reflection.
What?
She doesn't get it, does she, Mr. Davis?
That's why I said send the YouTube videos. She'll watch it and she'll go, "Oh yeah, I got it now."
Yeah, all right. But now she'll have some reference points. So, all right,
let's bring on our next guest, Mr. Matthew McDaniel. Mr. McDaniel, how are you, sir?
I'm doing okay.
So where are you calling in from?
I am calling in from Oregon.
Oregon. Wow. Beautiful country. A couple of years ago, I did a case in Deschutes. Are you familiar with the Deschutes?
Yeah, yes, I am. Central Oregon.
Right. Where are you?
I'm around Salem.
Okay. So what's going now? One of the things I realized when I was in Oregon is that Oregon is a state that runs its CPS agency from the state level, not from the county levels.
That's because in Oregon, the state took over all the courts so they could be in charge of everything. So all the county courts are run by the state. So they
Okay.
can appoint who they want and bypass the vote if they choose to do so.
Oh, okay.
For
So
judges.
what's going on with you and CPS in Oregon?
Well, the way it works in Oregon, an accusation is evidence. Okay. So I had 7 children, 6 with my current wife, and the oldest, who was my wife's stepdaughter, moved out of the house to go to a different school. So she had to get a guardianship with someone in that school district. And so the 72-year-old man who did the guardianship for her to have an address to go in that district bought her tickets to Germany when she was at the time 16, didn't tell me about it or ask permission, and showed her the tickets and said to me, "Oh yeah, I bought your daughter tickets. We're going to Germany together. And you need to sign a passport application." And I wouldn't do it. So I got a text from my daughter that said, "If you don't sign the application for a passport, I will make you regret it." And I said, "No dice." And so the old man and the daughter and the old man's lawyer went down to the sheriff and made a huge number of false accusations, which the sheriff gladly handed over to the newspaper. And they came and arrested myself and my wife, took the other 6 kids, and middle of the night. And then after another number of months, they dropped all the charges.
Wow.
But they kept all the kids.
Oh, they dropped the criminal case, but they kept the
Yes.
CPS case open.
Right. It's good money.
Oh, wow.
7 kids in one folder. Why should you deal with 7 families when you can deal with 7 kids in one family?
Yeah, that's a jackpot for the state.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what it's all about, money.
Yes.
So
So-
I've been looking, and I have yet to find someone who can verify or challenge the concept that I think one child in foster care is about $10,000 a month in cash flow for all the different players total.
You know, there are
Some would say it's
people
more than that, but
that have shows.
I want a number. I want a number, but I think this is really important. It's the thing that nobody talks about. Is this is about the family down the street that does fostering. It's about the drivers, the buildings, the cars, the caseworkers, managers, supervisors, counselors, lawyers, all the different things they do. And they click the barcode on each thing as it goes through. And the foster mom and dad get less than 10% of all that.
so
You know, I've
Can I-
mentioned this book. I mentioned this book before, and I think you can buy it on Amazon. I should be an Amazon affiliate. It's called The Economic Analysis of the Law, and it explains to you, since the beginning of time, that generally laws that are enacted, there is primarily an economic purpose for them. And you know, unfortunately, that includes child protective services. But nobody brings it up, or when we try to bring it up, you know, nobody wants to believe it. I actually had a judge tell me, this is maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer, in a county that is north of Los Angeles. The judge told me, I wasn't doing the questioning, by the way. There was another attorney trying to make the argument that the social worker was biased because of the economic benefit. And I don't remember the exact words of the judge, but they were something to the effect that the county doesn't get any economic benefit from detaining children. I don't believe it.
Oh, that's a joke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
But you know what? That judge, unfortunately, really believed it. She believed that. And so that, I mean, assuming that she really did believe that, What do you say? What do you do? You know, and then explain to us why it wasn't relevant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you can always cross-examine, in my opinion, a witness on bias or reason to be biased, and then an economic gain, in my opinion, is bias. You know, it may or may not be true of why the social worker is testifying a certain way, but it's possible. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
possible that the finder of fact, the jury, and in this case, the judge, might want to listen to this and consider it. But to not even consider that, you know,
That should be a huge,
right.
huge.
I didn't make a big deal out of it because I wasn't doing the questioning, and it wasn't my argument. It was another attorney. Now, interestingly enough, you know who the attorney was, Mr. Guy, Miss Payne? It was Art Lasalento.
I was going to say. So, well, I'll finish.
I have a question if I'm allowed to ask. I just wanted to know, did your daughter end up getting to go to Germany at the end of the day?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to know maybe this motive of why she wanted to go so bad and see what she ended up causing to all of her brothers and sisters. I mean,
Well, the apart from money, the goal of the process is to do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, I think she's done enough.
Yeah. So not on her part, but on the system's part, divide and conquer, break everything.
Oh, yeah.
Division of Family Service.
They say in the military that Army people are trained to break things and hurt people, and the CPS court is no different.
Mm-hmm.
oh, I know. Believe me.
So in answer to your question, if you're really looking for these answers and you want to get hardcore, is every state has an open checkbook online. Go online, do a search for it. Inside of that checkbook is supposed to be the transparency. It will tell you you can go research it down to your caseworkers' names of what they were paid last year, how much they were paid. Of course, you're only going to get the transparency stuff of what the bills are they're accounting for. But you can do that. You can do that. You can also submit to a FOIA to the Social Security Administration to go look for funding from Title IV, see what your county or your state has done that way. I mean, there's many ways for you to go ahead and investigate and obtain this information. FOIA is being one of the best, but to see what your area is doing as far as caseworkers, and this breaks it down into real estate, gas mileage, any dollar that the state had spent in those categories, you can find on your state's open checkbook. So just do a Google on that stuff and you'll be able to start locating this money, and then you can take that down the rabbit hole as far as you want.
Hey, Matthew, Saturday on our seminar, and I will assume that you didn't see it, we had an attorney from Tennessee, Connie Reguli. Am I saying that regularly or
Regularly, I think.
Connie Reguli, who I refer to as a CPS guru.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from Tennessee, and she does a lot of state and federal lobbying to Congress and those type of people. She did a presentation and she had this unbelievable PowerPoint slide, but one of the things she had for her state was the breakdown of the money, right? And that is all public information. How much they get per head per kid.
Well, we know it's a lot of money, and
oh yeah,
it doesn't change the outcome.
Right.
Because we know it's a lot of money.
They keep the kids.
Yeah, they keep the kids, and we can push numbers around and feel good about ourselves, but it doesn't change the outcome.
I'm a firm believer that this government is funded by this whole project. I mean, that's just the way it is. It seems like the more kids they adopt, this should be going down. The more they adopt, the more the economy in the state of Maine gets better. The number of kids.
Mr. Davis, how could they drop his criminal case, but he still have a CPS case? I don't understand that part. Well, I know your kind of situation there, but
had you finished, Mr. Guy?
Oh, sorry.
That was good.
I'll be a good listener.
As I say, it takes a lot of practice, right?
No.
Well, the reason why they dropped the case against Matthew was because they didn't have beyond a reasonable doubt in evidence form to convict the guy.
Mhm.
And they must have been so far from it, because a lot of times the DA, if it's a close call, they're going to let the jury decide. But they had some type of information that led the DA to believe we don't have a chance. So let's just drop the criminal case. Now, here's the important thing, Matthew. I want to tell you this. When that happens, your attorney has to know, your CPS attorney, to go into the criminal court and get all of that evidence from the DA, because there was a reason why the DA didn't prosecute that case. And
They
you may
don't-
not you may not have that reason. One of the reasons could have been, oh, the kid was forensically interviewed by a police detective, and she said, oh, you know what, it was all a lie, I'm sorry. And then the case goes away.
They had plenty of that.
Case
But-
goes away, but then you and your attorney in the CPS court, you guys never knew about that. And the CPS judge, he or she never knows about that.
It was the same judge.
Yes.
It was the same judge. So the judge
too.
knew that the witness was lying, but he was out for scalps. So there were 8 to 10 felony charges against myself and against my wife. They were all dropped. And then they kept, well, the stepdaughter, my daughter, my wife's stepdaughter, she went to a new foster home because she got caught stealing and lying at the old man's house. And then the 6 kids that were taken, 4 were put in one foster home, and the 2 youngest were split off. It was a 1.5-year-old girl and a 3.5-year-old boy. They were split off because they're greatly adoptable. And they did not speak English or any known American language. And they were separated from their older siblings.
Yeah.
They were linguistically isolated. The judge, CASA, the lawyers were all okay with that because they made for adoption. And so 4 kids aged out, came home, no issues. And the 2 young ones are older now. And the foster family is trying to adopt them. And it is now moved into TPR.
Mm.
We're in this for the long game.
Mm.
Because everything unravels in time.
Yeah. Truth.
Do you
That's
have
what
a
happened with me.
you have a good lawyer representing you?
And those are quite often contradictory words.
That's a good way to put it. He must be court appointed.
They,
That's
they
an
come
oxymoron.
and they go.
Right.
And, the courts, it's a business with all the attorneys that play ball with the judge, and everybody's got to stay happy, and the outcome for families is often a secondary issue. So one for you today, one for me tomorrow, one for you today, one for me tomorrow, and let's keep this all in the family.
Mr. Matthew, you are very astute, sir, because what you're saying has a ring of truth to it. Have you ever thought about writing a book?
Uh-oh.
I do a lot of activist work. I usually punch below the belt, and I skewer caseworkers and lawyers. I have my own video channel for that purpose.
Oh, you have a YouTube channel? What's the name of it?
It's called Oregon's DHS CPS Child Trafficking Mafia.
Yes.
Come on our next seminar. Come on our next seminar.
And so I do a
Matthew.
lot of publishing.
I'm gonna get in trouble. I better.
She just can't help herself, Matthew. Don't worry about her.
I do a lot of publishing, and I actually sent your office a packet of handouts, bumper stickers, and pamphlets on how to survive the process.
When did you send that stuff?
I sent it last week. I sent it the same day I talked to someone, and shipped it out. Book rate.
I'm going to have to call my office or go in there tomorrow and try to track that down, because in my office, if something comes in and it's not related to a case, one of our clients, I don't know what they do with it.
Well, I don't tend to take prisoners. You mess with my kids.
Right.
You're damn right.
I may not have the best lawyer or enough lawyers, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. So I have a website where I single out caseworkers and what they've done. It's been extremely cruel to my wife and my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are past 5.5 years. I have my 2 little ones have been in foster care over 5.5 years.
Wow.
Do you have any contact with them at all?
I get 1 hour a week for 5.5 years.
That sucks.
Your case has been open for 5.5 years?
Yeah, it's like, so I.
Oh my gosh.
And if you have a really weird name, you better not tangle with me, because you will come right up on Google when I get done. So I have a website, dhsoregon.com, and no prisoners. Nobody.
Aaron, how did you get that taken advantage of? And he's still got his case open with all these websites of people.
I got slaughtered. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And he didn't even do what you're doing.
They threw me to the wolves. I just did a podcast, man.
Yeah. So you just play the long game. I told my caseworker, I think I'm on my 3rd caseworker and she's leaving. And I told her, I'm not in this for 5 years. This is the 20-year plan. You will never disappear from my website, which is not in America.
Mm-hmm.
So you won't disappear. What you do is recorded and it's published. And I didn't print a few. I didn't print a few pamphlets. I printed 10,000.
Oh,
I love the guy.
He needs to be Oregon. Where do you live? Oregon's captain.
And so I print thousands of bumper stickers. They're all free. I mail them for free. And I have people who've lost their kids that help distribute. It could get better. People, I always say, if someone taking your kids doesn't light a fire under you, nothing will.
And, I know, it seems like this country's asleep. They ain't used to it yet.
Yeah, getting people to mobilize is like organize. What do you have to do? I'll give you 100 pamphlets, hand them out. That's real complicated, but sometimes you can't get anybody to do that.
Matthew,
I wanted to do that for Mr. David.
Matthew, I'm on your website. I clicked on dhsoregon.com. I clicked on the DH handbook.
Right.
Who wrote that handbook for you?
I wrote it from the grave. I talked to a lot of mothers, a lot of fathers who had their kids taken, and I just sifted the material, and I wanted, they do one thing to you and you go, oh my God. And then 2 months later, they do another stunt to you and you go, oh my God. And so I said, look, this is all the stuff they're going to do to you in one shot. It's like jumping off a cliff. I want you to see everything so that you will not be surprised. They will do anything they want to you. And so it was like, how do you survive it? First of all, know how brutal they're going to be. The judge will lie. If I say to the judge, I'm wearing a dark shirt, he'll say, the court, you heard him, he's wearing a white shirt. The judge will know they're lying. The judge knows that for the CPS jurisdictional trial, CPS withheld 40 exculpatory video photos and video, and that would have showed that there were lies. And so he prevented that from ever getting into the record. And so that's where it went. And so
have you talked to a civil rights lawyer?
I can't find anybody in Oregon that knows what they're doing on that issue, because we have plenty. You can't take 2 little kids and separate them from their siblings when they don't speak an available language. So you're violating their civil rights to isolate them at 1.5 and 3.5 years old. And you can't do that. And to find an attorney who will pick up on one of these items, for instance, I'll give you an example. The translator between my wife and her attorney was a translator that worked for CPS.
Oh, Lord.
Well,
So
wait a
they
minute.
Wow.
had access to all her conversations via the translator.
Wait, first of all, let me ask you this. Why did your wife have a translator to talk to her attorney?
Because she didn't speak English.
Oh, I see.
So they flew, to give you an idea, they flew in translators from halfway around the world. Like that wasn't a money pot.
What
And
language?
the Aka language,
What?
AKHA.
I never heard of that.
No, there's
What
maybe
country?
Thailand, Burma,
Oh,
China,
okay.
Laos, and Vietnam. I speak it fluently. All my kids speak it except the last two. And the caseworker said, I said, you can't separate them from their siblings. They'll lose their language, their first language.
Yeah, they're done it right.
And she said they can learn it again when
Oh.
they get older. So
Because she knew that they were going to be adopted in her mind.
you'll see the details
So
on
your children were the Aka language and then you taught them English? That's what happened?
Yeah, they were born in an Aka village on the border with Burma.
Oh, wow.
And so the youngest were born in this country, but the only language we spoke in the house was Aka.
Mhm.
And this is pretty much identifying the case. I'll tell you that much. You weren't allowed to speak English in the house.
Mhm.
You could speak it in the car or outside the vehicle or outside the house, but everybody adhered to the language in the house. So my adult children, they speak the language still because of that.
Mhm. That's good. That's
Matthew, what's the name of your YouTube channel?
Oregon's DHS CPS Child Trafficking Mafia. And the DHS workers watch it religiously.
Yeah, that's how I knew him. I was
How
doing
have
well.
they not been able to use that against him like they do in California?
They don't.
You
There are no
guys-
rules here. There are no
Oh,
rules.
wow.
Yeah, the judge makes up the rules as he goes along.
I couldn't even talk to my kids about my case, let alone go do what you're doing.
Well,
Wow.
yeah, I don't.
Well, I'm surprised your case has been open for 5.5 years. I think that's the longest I've ever heard of a case being open.
Yeah, we're not done. We're TPRs like October or later. So back
But
to
what
your
are they
comment.
using against you?
They're just.
Why are they preventing him from coming home? What is the reason?
So they said, well, when they dropped all the charges against both of us, they said, well, let's split up the family. And so I said to my wife, I said, look, I'll move off the farm so that there's just you. That cuts the case in half. So then they can't, so at least let you get the kids back. So I moved off the farm. So then they came out with this thing. Well, we think he's a risk. So even though she had more charges against her than I had against me, we think he's a risk and that she'll let him visit the children when he's not authorized to visit them. So we can't risk sending the kids home. And so in more than 5.5 years, I have never visited the kids anywhere but the 1 hour at the office.
Yeah.
And so they have no.
How can they predict the future? How can they predict the future?
They do. That's what they do.
Well, and they get lawyers to say, well, they have a point. You know, you might run into another car with your car, so we're going to take your car away from
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
I'd say that
saying. How can
That's my go-to saying is the case. They'll say, well, it could happen. I said, well, the caseworker could take my kid, walk outside, and they both get hit by a bus. We didn't see that coming.
So my wife told the judge, in more than 5.5 years, he has never broken the rules. And if you give me my 2 little babies back and he shows up when he's not supposed to, you can take him. They're yours. No questions asked. And so she threw down the plank for the judge, and the judge just ignored it, of course.
What?
Yeah, the judge ignored it. So the judge just does what he wants. And he told the DHS workers, he said, court order, I want you to send these kids home a couple of nights now and then to be with their mom. The two little ones spend nights. They never did it. And he said, I told you to do that. Why didn't you do it? They never did it. And then he just let it go. So they were never penalized when they did. I think they got 2 rulings of failed to make reasonable efforts, and there was no penalty. So they just kept doing it. So then it goes to TPR, and the judge says, okay, let's go with TPR. So now we're headed for TPR.
For what reason, though? That's just ridiculous.
Well, one of the videos I say, okay, so you TPR the kids. They're older now, and they'll get older still. They will grow up, and they will know all the people who lied to them.
Yeah, that's what I hope happens with my youngest.
The foster parents are in collusion with it. And
of course.
And so I said, you think that somehow if you're able to adopt these kids and move away somewhere, it'll come to an end, but it won't. Because I know who you are.
That's what happened to me, yeah.
Yeah, I know who you are. You're going to get published. You're going to get published. And you're not going to rip the kids off and just walk away and pretend it didn't happen. Because they're going to grow up and they're going to know you're liars. And then what will the relationship be worth then? They're going to abandon you.
Are they trying to use the fact that maybe now your 2 younger children have more of a bond with these foster parents because of the fact that you only see them 1 hour a week?
No,
have
but
they tried to use that?
My wife sees them, and it's very clear that they have a bond with us. I mean, they go to the farm, they see all their brothers and sisters, and so it's like, how are you going to make all that disappear? And so the judge is just like, well, I'll throw it to the TPR court and let them decide. Because in the process, we make more money. If I decide, it stops. And if I don't decide, the county makes more money because he thought he was going to do the TPR. We said, no, you're not doing the TPR. And so it went to a new judge for that. But it's still in the county. They're still making bucks off it. So it's big business. You got to figure, they do 2-day jurisdictional hearing to take away your kid. Everybody gets to lie. And the county attorney lets everybody lie and doesn't cross it. And then whenever there's a permanency hearing, it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks of court, lawyer, money going through the mill. And so it's a big business. And so
I totally believe that.
Kids will find out what's going on. And I think if you look on that website that is not in the United States, you will see the names of the players. And there's a little bit of ouch in there, I think, if you're one of those people with a unusually spelled name. Try to keep a low profile because you'll be right at the top of a Google search. And so, that's what they do. I give as good as I get.
Matthew, I'm kind of not supposed to speak so much tonight, but I really feel like you would be a good candidate if you'd be interested in coming and speaking a lot more of what you do on Mr. Davis's next seminar. Maybe he could talk to you more about it. But you have a lot of information we can all see that is very, I don't know, I'm intrigued. I would like to know more about the work you do and stuff like that.
Well, I did 14 years of human rights work in Thailand and Laos.
Oh, wow.
And I showed up repeatedly at the UN and beat up on the Queen of Thailand.
Oh.
And, I cost the Thai government millions of dollars because they had to investigate, because the UN Special Rapporteur on Indigenous Rights filed a letter of accusation at the top level of the UN against the Thai government. And so they had to do a massive investigation in country to find out what that was about. So, I may have to chew on this for a while, but, I have mothers call me whose lives have been completely destroyed. There's no going back. They completely destroyed them. And so my wife has probably cried herself to sleep for 5.5 years. And I don't know how she survived, but we keep at it, and we help caseworkers understand that they wish they hadn't been our caseworker. So I think we're headed for caseworker number 4.
What if no caseworkers want to come and actually be your caseworker?
Nobody wants to. All I got
I would say, I quit.
There's still some people in the wings whose names haven't been mentioned or published, but when things wind down sometime in the future, it will be relentless without mercy.
My last question, I promise. But does your stepdaughter feel guilty at all for kind of causing all of this?
Nothing.
No way.
She's my daughter, and she's my wife's
Oh, I
stepdaughter.
thought it was your stepdaughter. Okay.
No, nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
Wow. Maybe you should have let her go to Germany.
She did. She went in one way or the other. She went. You know, she's on her own dime.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's on her own dime now. So
Wow.
uh,
I'm sorry to hear that.
everybody has choices.
Yep.
Everybody has choices. So anyway, I do a lot of I try to do a lot of organizing. I know Connie, and I know Karen. On the chat groups.
Karen Cook.
Yeah, she's real.
Yeah, Karen's great.
She's real works at it, and I tried to get more people organized in Oregon. A lot of parents are so traumatized they can't cope with beyond surviving that, which is understandable. But I do the best I can, and it's not just about my kids. It's to make sure that
They don't keep doing it. Yeah.
well, and to make sure that the people know that you don't have to become a lawyer. You know, if you don't have a good one, you can still make it hurt. You know, there's no free lunch stealing people's kids. The other point I'd like to make is there's this movie out called The Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
It's very interesting
Yeah.
because it's about boogeyman outside the country. And what we need is a movie about CPS, because trafficking by definition is if you move a person 1 inch via deception for economic benefit, you're trafficking. So if they take a kid from a family and lie in court, and the caseworkers lie, now you got to remember the caseworkers will lie at the table, at the stand, back at the table in the court. But then when they get on the stand under oath, they're more careful. But the judge relies on all the other rubbish they're feeding him while at the table. And he knows what they're doing. His job is to keep it in the county, keep it going. And so that's how it functions. So,
That's that movie I was talking to you about, Mr. Davis, the other day.
I think it's a well-done movie, but I think that we need one of similar quality about CPS, because, it's like in Germany during the Second World War, people down the street who were not Jewish would turn in their Jewish neighbors and then buy their goods and property for a penny on the dollar. And it's the same now as people say, oh, go get the legislation changed.
Yeah, they're the SS of us.
People that are contractors that are first and second and third in line for money, and they're not going to let their legislatures change anything very quickly. And so you have the neighbor down the street's got a children's home going. They're a driver, they're a counselor, they're a lawyer, they're a supervisor, they're a caseworker, and the list of all the places where they're tapping into the money ends up being a far greater number of people than just the CPS workers. So if you say if there's 100 CPS workers, there's 1,000 ad hoc contractors, and they're not about to say no to the money. And so all these people that are traitors to their own neighbors and their own community are getting paid to do so.
It's been over 9 million kids have been taken in 20 years since 2003. 9 million kids, not just taken, not into taken, fostered, and gone. 9 million. That's more than World War II.
It would appear nothing upsets Americans anymore. They'll tolerate anything.
Hey, Matthew, were you in the armed services?
U.S. Navy.
Thanks for your service, man.
Man, it just happened.
What was your MOS? What was your MOS?
I was a machinist mate. I was on the USS Enterprise, and I was later on a fast attack submarine. And I lived in Southeast Asia for a long time, and what aggravates me about the U.S. is that when Southeast Asians got upset, in the flash of light, hundreds of thousands would show up in the Capitol or the district office, and they would shut the place down. And Americans don't have the capacity or the ability to do that. And that's why none of this changes.
Mm-hmm.
You took every parent that lost a kid to foster care in every state and went to the Capitol and said, we're done.
Hmm.
To me, you did it to my kids, you did it to my grandkids. It would probably stop.
Do you fear that people will come after you like for like your life?
I really
I mean, I don't know how else to ask it, but
I don't think you knew what I did in Southeast Asia. I
probably didn't.
went against the Thai Army and the Thai police, Thai Forestry Department, and I was one person. And I would go out in the middle of the night to an army base, and I would say, this woman tells me that her husband is in your army camp, and you need to give him to me. Choice one. Choice two, you need to take him to the county jail because we know what you do in the army camps. You kill people. And choice three, you need to take him home. And I have copy of articles in the Bangkok Post and other papers of the chaos that caused in the Thai structure. And I could usually get a prisoner in a couple hours. I could get a prisoner back out, returned home. I said, he was running drugs. I don't care what he was doing. If you got a problem, put him in jail and let his wife visit him. And so, yeah, I think, I'll be frank. These people are the scum of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
The caseworkers, all of them.
I'm surprised they haven't just been scared of you in general to just give you your kids back and let you be on your way.
Well,
why are they pushing your buttons? I mean, holy moly.
The upside of it is the long game.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
still.
I've alerted more people that there's a problem. And so I'll just keep doing that. And that's the long game. And I think the judge said, oh, I'd love to be done with this case. You gave the TPR to a different judge. Okay, that's fine by me. And I think I had written an email so my wife fired her court-appointed attorney. And she called me and I was out of town. She said, send that guy an email to confirm that he's fired. So I did. So then the judge said, oh, I think Matthew's interfering with his wife's attorney relationship. And the attorney stood up and said, no, she already fired me before I got the email. And the judge said, what email? And he said, the email Mr. McDaniel wrote to me. And she said, I want to see it. So they gave the email to the judge. And the email said, because the dispute was that my wife did not have a confidential translator between her and her attorney. And so the email said, the judge violates his right, his process of justice in fairness, in that he has allowed this bastard situation to continue. And it's a violation of constitutional rights. And it was about this judge, and he read the email in the court. And it's now part of the record of my telling him that he had allowed the bastard situation to continue. And so he said, apparently, Mr. McDaniel thinks the court is biased. So it's not real bright, but I at least figured that part out.
Did your wife get a new attorney?
So they had a list that they're supposed to put her on for a new attorney. The other attorneys, the attorney for the two little kids accused her of trying to delay TPR results. And so I got on the stand and he said, did she tell you to write this email? And I said, yeah. And I translated it into what it would be in our language. It's a constitutional right. And he said, oh, I think you're just trying to delay the TPR and adopting out your kids. And I said, why don't you get on it? How come you're not done yet? Just do your job. Come on. How come you can't get this accomplished? So I'm trying to delay, but you're not man enough to get this job done. What's your problem? So the judge was like, I think Mr. McDaniel doesn't think the court's square. And I said, that's probably true. Read between the lines.
Mute, Mr.
You're
Davis.
muted, Mr. Davis. We can't read lips yet.
I think that
He's laughing.
I think the judge might be concerned about what's going to happen with publicity once the case is closed.
So
However,
do you think that's why maybe they've kept it open for so long, though?
well, he's the only one I haven't named to publicly yet. I've given him the
Uh-oh.
option. I've given him the option to have a change of heart.
Hey, Matthew,
Wow.
I want to thank you for coming on this evening, sharing the story, telling us about your website and your YouTube channel. I'm going to be delving into those. I'm going to ask Grace to give you a call to see about having you on in the future, and perhaps you assisting us in the state of Oregon. I hope that would be something that you're open to, because I think we can help you spread your message.
Spread my poison.
The truth.
Spread my poison.
I'll pass out pamphlets. I'll do that.
I have thousands. It's a
I wanted to pass out something for Mr. Davis at the courthouses, but he laughed at me when I said it one time.
I'll pretty much work with anybody that shows up.
Hey, I'd do anything.
Okay, folks. Well, thank you again, Mr. Matthew McDaniel, and we will be in contact with you in the next couple of days, okay?
Thanks for the chance to discuss.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks. So thank you again for co-hosting this evening. We will see everyone tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This show is only about 30 minutes over. Yes, Mr. Guai, I see your finger.
Tip. We need a tip.
Okay.
Oh, that hasn't happened in a while.
Well, there's reason. We got to keep on track.
Mr. Davis, that guy was very interesting.
I can't wait. I know this is going to be good.
Uh-oh. For DJ to learn how to be a better listener.
I'm trying to figure out an appropriate way to type this tip.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Well, you could be like CPS and say there's no way to put the words in writing. This tip Mr. Davis is trying to get out.
This might be a to be continued tip.
No, it's just a tip.
5.5 years that guy. 5.5 years that guy's case has been open. Oh my dear Lord. What did you say, DJ?
Is there a time? I wonder if there is. Is there a time limit that they have to?
That's what I was told. I was literally told my time clock. I was out. My time clock has expired. So too bad, so sad.
Well,
but if we had maybe just one more year, then we could, you know.
But in reality, they could tick that clock as long as they want, huh? Until the child's 18 or until they can be on their own. Could they stay in your life and be a bothersome and just not even hold you off on TPR?
Who knows? They can do whatever they want, it seems like. Where is it? You see it already?
And that's dedicated to Matthew McDaniel.
Where is it? I don't see it.
Mr. Guai, please help her out, okay?
I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
You don't see it neither? See? Haha.
As much as I wanted to give that right to her, the answer. So I don't.
He wanted to get me. You're mean, Derek. That's mean.
Okay, folks.
I'm not that computer illiterate. Wait, but where's the tip? Are we going to see it?
It's there. I posted it on.
No, I don't see nothing. And Darren didn't either. Just read it then, because we don't know what it is.
Tip number 8: fight and never give up.
All
dedicated to Matthew McDaniel. Okay,
It
folks.
took you
Good
that
night.
long.
I'll see you tomorrow,
Good night.
7 p.m. Pacific Standard. Bye-bye.